everyone, it's Hannah here from Hand Dyed Crochet, and today we are making this really lovely textured cable headband. I have the pattern for free on my blog, or you can purchase the PDF, and I'll put all the details down below of where to find it. And I have made it in different sizes, so we have an adult version, we have a child version, and we have a baby version. And you can also change the sizing if you like by just messing around with different yarn weights, because that's a really easy way of adapting it to how you would like it to be. The stitch multiple is really simple, even though it looks complicated. And I have chosen to make my versions in Brava Worsted weight yarn, and you get 218 yards in 100 grams. It's 100% acrylic, and it's really, really lovely and makes these up really quickly. It's a great yarn to use for if you're selling at craft fairs, etc. So go grab yourself some yarn. You'll need a pair of scissors, a needle for your ends, and then I used an 5.5mm crochet hook. So go grab your kit, grab your version of the pattern, and let's get making. So to begin with, we're going to be using foundation single crochet stitches, which are not as scary as they sound. We're going to begin by popping a slip knot on the hook, and then we're going to chain 2. And then what we're going to do is work into the back bump of that first chain that we have, and we're going to pop our hook straight in, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through just 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2. And that makes your first foundation stitch. And the reason that I like to use foundation stitches for this headband is because it gives you such a nice edging at the bottom here, and also not a tight chain that won't stretch around your head. It's got lots of give in these, and it does affect the tension definitely. So our next foundation stitch goes into this part of the stitch here, and that's the chain that you created by just going through 1 loop to begin with. So we yarn over and we pull through, and we yarn over and pull through 1, and that's the chain 1. That's the place that we're then going to go into for the next stitch. And then we yarn over and we pull through 2. And so we just work along for the amount of stitches that you need for the size that we're making. So that's 50. Just making sure you go through both of the loops there. We've got 2 loops sitting over the top of our hook here. And then yarn over and just pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through 2. So go ahead and make the amount that you need for your size, and then meet me back here and we'll turn it into a round. Okay, so once you have the length of stitches that you need for the size that you're making, we are going to turn this into a round. And now we just need to be careful that it doesn't twist. So run your fingers all the way around it to make sure that it's not twisted. And then make a slip stitch into that first stitch to join it. And pull that stitch nice and tight, and then you're ready to work round 2. And at the end, we will just pop this tail into here, and it will make a nice neat finish at the edge here. So for round 2, we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So your stitch count will stay exactly the same now throughout your headband. So I worked 50 stitches for the foundation row, and now we're going to work 50 stitches all the way around. And then when you get to the ends of those, you're going to slip stitch in your first stitch to join. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning, and we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch to join. Now we're ready to start working our cables on the next round. And to do that, we are going to chain 1 and then work a single crochet into that first stitch there. And now our first cable is this longer cable here, so it's a set of 6 stitches that we work to now. And what we're going to do is we're going to wind the yarn round twice, because we're going to make a US treble stitch. So we now need to be thinking about working into the stitches 2 rounds below. So not into the round that we have here directly underneath us, but into this first. It's easier to see this first round actually because there's no further to go. So the first round that you come to here at the bottom is the one that we're aiming for. And we have just worked into this stitch, so that stitch is allocated. And what we now need to do is skip the next 2 stitches, so that's 1 and 2. And then we're going to work front post treble stitches around the next 2. So this is the first one we're going into. So you've wrapped around, and that's going to be a front post treble stitch here. So nice and long, and then we do the same in the next stitch. And so that looks all sorts of weird and wonderful. But what we're now going to do is work back on ourselves, and we've skipped these 2 stitches here, so we're going to work back and work into those 2 stitches. But we're not going to go across the front of our work, we're going to go behind these 2 stitches that we've just made. So I'm not going to lie, this bit is the fiddliest bit, and it's unfortunate that we start with the fiddliest bit, but it gets easier from here, I promise. So what we're going to do is we're going to ignore these 2 stitches that we have, and we're going to fish around at the back here, we're going to flop them out of the way, and we're going to find these 2 stitches that we have skipped, and we're going to work a front post treble stitch in both of those. So it's very easy to lose your loops here, so just make sure you keep count. So that's 1, and then push everything to the front, and then the more that you do of these, the easier it will get, and you won't be fishing around like this. And then that second one there, and so you fill in those 2 gaps, and remember it's always in the 2 rounds below that we're working any post stitches. And so that's sorted there. And then what we're going to do is work a US double crochet into the next 2 stitches 2 rounds below. So they're easy to find because if you give a tug on the stitches you've already made here that have gone across, you can see the next stitch we come to is this one. So we're going to just do a front post double crochet in that one, and then a front post double crochet in the next one. So we now need to work a single crochet in the next stitch of the previous round. So it's confusing, I think, here because you're like, well, is it this stitch or is it that stitch? So my best advice here would be to flip the stitches forward that you've just made, these front post stitches, and then see where the ones are that you've skipped on the round below, because we did 6 stitches here. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, that means our next stitch needs to go into this one here. And I would, if this is your first go with cables, I would definitely recommend doing that each time. Flip your stitches forward and count the ones that you should have missed here. So that's our single crochet into the next. And then we are going to work a front post double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So remember that this is the one that we've allocated this single crochet for. And so we now need to go down here 2 rounds below and work a double crochet in there, front post double crochet, pardon me, and then another front post double crochet in the next one. And they are your 10 stitches. They look really bizarre at the moment, but that's the beauty of cables. They look really strange until you complete the puzzle and do the next part of it. So don't worry if they look bizarre. They will look bizarre, and that's no problem at all. So let's do another set of these 10 stitches together. We are going to flip our work forward to see where our 2 stitches are that we've just done, and then we're going to pop a single crochet into the next stitch. And then just as we did before, we are going to skip the next 2. So this is the one allocated for this stitch, and then we skip 1, we skip 2, and now here we are at the next one that we're going to work into. So we do our long stitch there, a treble stitch, front post treble, and then we do another front post treble in the next one. And then we work back behind those stitches, remember. So we're now aiming for the 2 stitches that we skipped here. So we've got 1 and we've got 2 that we need to do. And so pop your work forward and dig around, find those stitches and work those long stitches underneath them. 1 and 2. And then remember, the next part is easy to find because we tug on that post stitch there, and then we can see that the next one we come across is here. So it's a front post double crochet into the next 2. And then we need to single crochet in the next stitch, but how we do that is by flipping forward and counting our 6 stitches we've just done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and it's this stitch then that we go for the next one. And then we need to do our set of 2 front post double crochet stitches. So this is the one that we've allocated for this single crochet, and so then we need to aim for these 2 here. 1 and 2. So those 10 stitches are going to get repeated all the way around, and that is the next round complete. So if you go ahead and do that up until you get to your first stitch, and we'll slip stitch to join, and then we'll be ready to work the next round. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning again, and we're going to slip stitch in that first one and pull tight to join. And now the next round is lovely and easy because we're just going to chain 1 and then we're going to single crochet in each stitch around. And now for our cabled stitches, this means that you're going to work them just in sequence as you come to them. You don't have to worry about flipping backwards and forwards or anything like that. Just work each stitch as it comes to you in sequence. And there we are back at the beginning, and so we just slip stitch to join again. And so the next round is just a slightly different version of the cable so that we can crisscross it over and make it look as pretty as this does. So this is the last round that you'll need to learn. Once you've got this round under your belt, you can do the whole of the rest of the headband because it's just a repeat of all of these rounds. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to single crochet into that first stitch. And now we come across, we're going into the, we're going to do front post stitches and we're going to work into the cable 2 rows below. Now it's easy from this point onwards because we've got these front post stitches already sticking up at us. So anytime it says a front post stitch on this round, you've already got stitches that you're going to work into. So we're going to work a front post double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's those 2 popping straight up at us there. And the next thing we need to do then is front post treble stitches, but we're going to skip 2 before we do them. So we've just worked for those 2 there. We're going to skip these 2 here, which are then your front post stitches that are tucked right underneath. And we're going to work them into the next front post stitches that we come to. So that's this one. And then this one. And then on the previous round, you remember when we did post stitches, we worked back underneath the stitches or behind the stitches that we made. But this time around, we're actually going to work in front of the stitches. So we're going to go back over the top of these and grab these 2 stitches here that are our post stitches from underneath. So it takes a bit of practice. So I always hook right underneath there, and you're working across the 2 stitches you've just made. And you're working these long treble stitches. And then there's that one left in there. We're going to grab that one and do our next long stitch there. And that's now what that should look like. And then we work a single crochet in the next stitch, which is a lot easier to find than previously because it pops straight up at you. And then this little set of 2, this little cable here that we have, is nice and easy. We're going to work a front post treble stitch into each of them, but we're going to cross them over. So you're going to skip this next one, skip here, and then work into this one. and then working in front of that stitch you've just made, you're going to work back across and a front post treble into that one there. And then we're going to single crochet into the next one, which is the beginning of our 10 stitch repeat. So that section there that we've just done is the repeat for this round. So we'll go again. We've done that first single crochet, and then we're going to work front post double crochets into these first two that we come across. So always remembering to work into the post stitches from 2 rounds below now. And then we're going to skip the next 2 and then work front post treble stitches into the next 2 that we come across. So again, they should pop up at you. And then we dig inside here for these 2 stitches that we need. And we're going to work a front post treble in each of those. It does want to flip over. You see how it's trying to curl back on me? It wants to do that because of the angle that you're working the stitches. But don't worry. Oh, I've missed one. I missed a loop. There we are. That's how easy it is to miss your loop. That's better. And then we single crochet into the next stitch. And then we have our 2 stitches here that we're going to cross over. So we have a front post treble stitch in that first one, and then working back across that one, a front post treble stitch in that first one there. And so that's your repeat of 10 stitches. So if you go around and work those repeats of 10 all the way around to the beginning again, and we'll slip stitch to join, and I'll show you the final round, which you already know how to do. And there we are, ready to slip stitch in our first again. And then the next round that we work will be a chain 1 and then a single crochet in each stitch around. So you'll see that each alternate row of the headband is just around like this, a single crochet in each stitch around. So it's also a good point where you can check your stitch count. So each time I do a round of these, I just do a quick count up as I go and make sure that I'm still on track. And so those rounds that we've just worked there with the 2 different cabling rounds and the single crochets in between them, they're the only rounds that you need to know, because we're going to repeat the first cabling round next, and then it will be a round of single crochet, and then we'll repeat the second cabling round and then a round of single crochet. The pattern suggests a certain amount of rounds for each size, but you can obviously work just as many rounds of the repeat as you would like to. So yeah, that is it. Nice and simple, much easier than it looks, and a really good way to get yourself going with cables if you've not tried them before. So I really hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you make one, come and find me and show me, because I would love to see them. I think they would make awesome gifts, and I think they would also sell really well at craft stores as well. So if that's what you do, please do let me know, because I'd really love to see. So I really hope you've enjoyed this. Pop to the blog and find the pattern, or grab it in my stores, and I will see you again soon.